Hi, I'm Veronica. I'm a somatic yoga teacher, a Thai yoga massage therapist, and your guide on the path towards self-healing. I would like to show you the sequence which is based on one of the cornerstones of my teachings, and this is intuition and exploration. This is not something for you to follow and mimic exactly as I do it. It's something that could bring you inspiration, and you can still do it your own way. So I will be giving plenty of suggestions, ideas, which you could take or leave. You could have a look at me for a moment, or maybe first just watch it and then only listen to me and do it your own way. So we'll start in maybe not even in a full child's pose, but a position where you sit towards your heels, wherever it feels comfortable, with your knees wider or closer together and the forearms on the mat. And as you're here, you want to start listening deeply. So it might be that some particular part of the body doesn't enjoy this position, and you could already work it out if there's anything else you could do to make it more comfortable. Perhaps there's some discomfort in the groin, maybe it's in the knee or in the lower back. You will see which part of the body speaks to you, and if there's any way you could ease it at this early stage. And I suggest that you begin with really small micro movements to begin with. Sometimes you really don't need much of a shift to feel the big difference in your body. You could also start connecting with your breath, allowing it to flow freely and feeling how it moves through your body. So whatever you do next, keep in mind you want to keep your breath flowing freely, and you are being led not by what I say, not by my instructions, neither by what you think you should do, what you think is good for you, but rather really letting your body decide, this natural intelligence of the body decide where it's taking you. And it could take you a little bit out of comfort zone, for sure. But notice how you feel about following the sensation. So at some point, you might start giving the weight through the lower legs to come into all fours, which is entirely changing the sensations, the way in which you are transferring the weight. And you might have some ideas about how you should look like in this position. So try to forget about that for a moment and allow your hands to find the angle where it feels most stable and comfortable. And then check how your weight is resting through the four limbs that are your points of support. You could shift the weight consciously from one limb to the other. So if you simply follow what I'm doing, you would be kind of doing circles of hips and arms in the air. That is very different from shifting the weight consciously more to one hand, more to the other hand, more to one lower leg and more to the other lower leg. That's why I'm saying it's more useful to follow what I say than try to replicate what I do. And perhaps there's already some natural need for different direction of the movement. But for a moment, let's begin with something really small and gentle, such as wagging the tail. Teeny tiny movement at the very end of the spine, sideways. And then let this be the beginning of the exploration. So imagine that your spine is a snake. It's alive and it wants to wriggle about in space. It might want to move sideways, and that movement could begin with the tail, but perhaps for you it's more interesting to begin it from the neck, or maybe somewhere from the middle of the spine. Each of these movements is going to feel differently, so this is entirely your choice. And then obviously it might start taking you to other places. Perhaps it's this upward, downward movement of the spine is what interests you more. Or you're not at all, you don't want to restrict yourself to these 2 dimensions and you start making circular movements or spiral movements. And at some point, obviously, your other parts of the body will start joining in, and that would be the shoulders and the hips, and you might start moving in space more. It doesn't mean that it has to be fast. In fact, I would rather suggest that for the beginning, for it to be slower so that you can really observe what's happening. But it might be that need to go lower to let your wrist rest, and perhaps that means moving on to your forearms. You might feel drawn back towards that child's pose. Or you could start exploring completely new shapes. And please don't feel limited to the shapes you know, to be the formal poses from any exercise regime, from a yoga. See if, wouldn't it be interesting to get your body to some shapes that you normally never ever do. But as you make these funny shapes, whether it's in squatting position or whether it starts involving some sort of a twisting shapes, how does it feel? Maybe you start feeling some parts of the body that normally are not so obvious, that somehow you realize that when you keep on repeating the same movements in your daily life or maybe in your movement practice, you always do it the same way, always using the same muscles, the same parts of the muscles. And now you're led by exploring new levels. You want to see these new sensations, find these new sensations in new places. And eventually your limbs will be more willing to participate in it. And there's always that curiosity about all sorts of mobility in the joints, where they could lead you, where that could lead you, and also how one part of the body could speak to the other part of the body. And there is no right or wrong here. You definitely know you want to back off from somewhere where you feel sudden, piercing, strong sensation, especially if it's very pointed. You're searching for places that feel good. Somewhere, you want to be somewhere where you feel like, okay, this part of the body needed my attention and now I'm getting there, but not in a brutal way. I'm getting there gently, slowly, gradually. And it feels good. It feels good. Yes, there's this intuitive message that, yeah, that's exactly what I needed. And very often the case is that to get to these places, you need to forget about this linear movements and rather go for something more spiral, more circular. And it turns out, it gives you a lot of sensation. As you can see, I'm really moving all over the place. I started on all fours, now I'm somewhere seated. It could take you to lying down on the front, it could take you to rolling over to your back, it could take you upwards. This is the exploration with no goal, with no rules. Every time it will be different, so the second time you do it, it's not that you're kind of revisiting and these movements, but checking maybe there's something new about it. So of course you will kind of naturally come to the shapes that somehow feel familiar, for example a downward dog, but then explore it, make it your own. Maybe there's something more active you want to do here, or maybe there's something really more gentle that you're looking for exploring. Maybe it's actually not the movement, but the stillness or just very slight micro movement that you're looking for, and that's where you're gonna feel good. So there is no rule, and every time it's going to be something different for you. Every time it's gonna be something different. You are led by the sensation. So it might be that you feel some sort of form of stuckness or discomfort, let's say in the groin, and then you're thinking of all the possible ways of getting yourself there without going straight into that extreme stretch. You want to get there kind of gently, gradually coming in and out, noticing how that groin connects with other parts of the body. How is it to open somewhere through the whole one line, the kind of whole spiral diagonal line, and it might be that only then you are kind of getting there. Or perhaps after watching it for some time, that groin, you will see that actually this is the case only on one side. So you don't really want to repeat the same thing on the other side. You don't really want to make it symmetrical because there is no such need. So maybe there is the sensation you feel on both sides, or maybe not. Maybe in the other side you feel it more like something happening on the inner thigh, or maybe the other side you feel more on the lower back. So plenty of possibilities there, plenty of possibilities. And it could take you upward. You might feel like stopping and pausing from time to time in any position, noticing, okay, what is it now actually I'm feeling? Maybe that starting point, it already changed, it already shifted. Maybe you start feeling it somewhere else, and every new position might give you a new feedback. And you might find that the solution is micro movement. You might find that you really feel like going for something wild and big and bold. Or you might feel like all you want to do is to stay still. Stay still in some shape. notice as you stay in this shape. Again, which part of the body speaks to you the most, and is it enough? How much time is enough to start feeling the difference? Not because you want to push yourself and kind of force it to release, because that will never work, but because you are in a comfortable enough place to convince this part of the body that it's safe to release, it's safe to let go. It could take quite a while and quite a lot of convincing, but eventually that's what might happen. So whether you're still really rolling around and finding that inner child doing all sorts of crazy shapes, rolling all around the floor, and sometimes it's really the floor gives you extra feedback. It might feel like helpful. It might feel helpful to have this special feedback from the ground, or it might feel restrictive, like you really want to be free and move super free somewhere in space, and then maybe you want to stay standing and explore there. But there is no problem in changing your mind. You could change your mind as you go, allowing the signals from the body to lead you. And it's okay to stay and to be still and to make it really quiet. And it's okay to really enjoy the pure joy of movement, like the children do when they play. They're not trying to do it in any particular way. They don't have any goals in mind. They're just exploring and enjoying. So that childlike attitude, how would it be to truly enjoy that movement, not because you are achieving something, you're getting into some particular shapes and it brings you the gratification. I mean the enjoyment of the sensations of the body, of the movement itself, without any goal in mind. The pure joy of moving, rolling, maybe using the floor as this natural massaging ground, and it could take you into so many places. Like today, I'm not really going for any crazy movements. I'm actually feeling like, yeah, let's do something very nice and soft. And for you it might be different. You might be really rolling around, and if you feel like sighing or making some silly sounds, yawning, it's all very welcome. So that when you come back to that initial pose, after some time here with this exploration, you might notice the body reacts to it very differently. Whatever was this stuck, that sense of stuckness or discomfort or something out of place that you noticed in the first moments, it might be gone by now. Maybe there is a sense of spaciousness or softness. So always give yourself time, and it doesn't really need to be in this position. You might decide to stand still, to stay still when you're sitting on your heels, or maybe when you're standing or lying on your back or on your front. It's irrelevant what will be your resting pose, but you want to stay and feel. For your nervous system to actually notice all these things that happened. For your body and mind to process everything that took place. For the energy to resettle. Come back to yourself ground. You could again feel that weightedness of your body in contact with the ground, whichever parts of the body are touching the ground now. Finding yourself in space and reconnecting with your breath. Still allowing it to flow freely. And this is something you can start your day, or this might be something that you really feel like doing when your body feels stuck, when you were in one position for a long time. And it could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, it could lead you to so many places. Just play with it and enjoy it.